Thank you very much. I have a quite difficult challenge because I come after all these beautiful presentations, so I try, and we're approaching lunch, so I'll try and be brief, and I try to catch your attention. And among the different topics that I can discuss today are this about infrastructure and urban infrastructure. I tried and decided to speak of the water perspective, as is one of the most important challenges that nowadays our city face. Half of humanity lives in cities, and cities are today the places in which most of the challenge happen, and not only in terms of challenges that we have, but also in terms of possibilities, because cities act as a catalyst of where most innovation can take place, where all the new possibilities can happen. And so urban areas are the places in which we can really try and figure out the new approaches of the next cities. Water, in this sense, is one of the most difficult challenges that we face because of climate change, because of impermeabilization of soils that our city face, because of drought, and these are just examples that happen in the recent time in Europe. So, for example, the flood that happened in Germany. The previous slide was about Genoa. We have a problem with maintenance of stream and channels within the cities and in the city extra boundaries, and problems regarding water provision and discharge is not just related specifically to the city center, but the problem of expanding of the city is one of the main challenges that we need to face in order to provide water and sanitation services. In particular, as population is growing, we need more water, not just for domestic uses, but we need more water to for food production, for energy production, and so we need to find a certain balance between all these things. But water is not just about infrastructure, it's also about the relation between the people interacting with this resource, because water is also always a locally available supply, because we cannot withdraw water from distant places because water is heavy and water is costly to transport. So we need to consider that water is a local resource from one side, and we need to reconsider the relation that people have within the infrastructure that in the past has been neglected. In fact, in the past, water was visible because it was under the ground. We had huge infrastructure that was in place, and people were responsible for fetching water, for discharging water, so they were aware of the resource, where the resource was based, and how to deal with it. And it was not just dealing with the people, but also it was a fence, it was a boundary, it was a scale. We have wells that were in the cities, and they provide a dimension that the city had. It was a place in which people gathered together. So it was a place in which most of the things happened. And then industrial revolution came up, and people got distance to the water because water went under the ground, because there were a time in which it was discovered that water could bring diseases. For example, cholera was discovered in 1848. So people got scared of water, and the cities covered up all the stream, all the channel, because they were dirty, they was stinking, and people got lost in their relation with water, and moreover, the public got responsible for water provision and discharge. So people were not anymore aware of the kind of resources that was coming in the house. You just open the tap, flush in the toilet, and that was it. So you're not anymore aware of who's the water coming from, how does it goes away. unless you have problem of provision, unless you have problem of discharge, unless if floods happen. So only in case of failing of the infrastructure. It's not just about the provision, but it's also about the city scale. People didn't want to have water in their premises, so water went under the ground, and water is channelized, and huge infrastructure are between the house, the street, and the water, particularly at the river Stevens. This is Marginal Tietê, Sao Paulo, so it's one of the oldest river, and it's because of the Tietê river that Sao Paulo is placed there, but it's very much distance. You cannot approach the river, you cannot experience the water system.